Hello, Internet, and welcome to Say Report Jr., the podcast where two friends who have not met in real life record their internet conversations, and a podcast you should be listening to, downloading, and subscribing to every week. I realize something
Yes.
every time I say that,
Okay.
which is that you shouldn't be you shouldn't be subscribing every week because that would mean you're
You're
unsubscribing and
unsubscribing
subscribing.
and That's very true.
But I
Hmm.
am too used to saying it now. So
And it's not going to change. I got so nervous when I started recording this because it didn't go, and then as soon as you started talking it went, and I was like, "Oh, it usually doesn't do that." There was like a lag, but it worked out.
Well, good. You say that now. You say that now till we go to check it later.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, "Oh, welcome to the Sayreportjr."
That reminds me of, and I don't mean to put you on blast or
Oh,
pull back the
great.
curtain too much, but I remember when we recorded the E3 episodes and they were twice as long as we were used to. And so you had the fade out just kind of built into the template.
Yep.
And so we thought we lost the back half of one of those episodes for about
Yeah.
20 minutes there
Yep.
while we freaked out.
That was awful. And then when I
Oh,
realized what had happened, I was like, "Oh, thank God, it was just my stupidity
it was
and
just
not
mute.
and
It just
not."
went on mute a little bit. We're good.
All right, good. Yeah, I got so
Hey,
scared.
we've been doing this long enough that we can do callbacks now.
I know it's great, and we can give a little behind the scenes. I'm okay with
Ha.
that.
So, let's get started proper, I guess. Now that the joking is out of the way, how has your week been?
It's been pretty good. It's been a spoilers. I did mention it before. I think I mentioned it last week. It is my birthday coming this week. By
Okay, I don't have like a way to make confetti sounds with my mouth, so there you go.
that's like an explosion. That's
Yeah, it
not
just sounds like I'm
confetti.
blowing something up and
Yeah.
you're on.
But yeah, so it so far has been a pretty good start to the week, to the birthday week. I got something in the mail today that was very, very exciting.
I don't know what you're talking about. I
I
have no
don't.
idea what you mean.
I mean, it could be of the mug variety. Um, yes, everybody. Zach and I now have matching mugs.
Matching podcasting
Matching
mugs.
podcast mugs.
Because we're giant nerds. So one of the things that I told you, I had like a small story to go with this. This
Yeah,
whole thing comes
do it.
from for the listening audience who obviously can't see anything.
There
They
will
are
be
plain.
pictures.
There will be pictures,
There'll be
but they are
pictures.
plain white mugs. On one side is a set of headphones, and on the other side it says, "Don't talk to me before I've had my podcast." These are a part of a generic podcasting like brand of products from the McElroy brothers, who I think I've mentioned before, but have never fully explained.
Nice.
There's a podcast out there called My Brother and Me. It's been going for like eight 8 years, I think, this year. It's one of the
Alright.
like longest running podcasts, but it's a fake advice show. Basically, they take questions from their audience, they take questions from Yahoo Answers, and they just basically make fun of everybody. Very
Nice.
good,
That's
very good,
good.
very funny. They have spawned out many other podcasts, as well as like they do a D&D podcast that just had a graphic novel go up of their first adventure.
Oh,
They
wow.
do they did a when CISO was still a thing, the comedy streaming service CISO, and now I think you can get these on Google, but they did a season of a TV show of their podcast, which they took one question from their audience and then ran around their hometown of Huntington, West Virginia,
To
asking
ask people.
people to help them with this problem, which is excellent. Unfortunately, I don't know if I think VRV is a website that has like a bunch of different streaming stuff to it, and you used to be able to watch the episodes for free on there. I don't know if you still can. If you can, I urge people to go out and find the job resume episode where they go to a bunch of different businesses in Huntington, and they're trying to pad their resume so they can go to one of their father-in-law who lives in town, who they used to work for, and go back and try and get their old job back from when they were like in their 20s. And so they're going around town padding their resume, trying to go to that, and it is very, very funny.
That's fantastic. Oh my god.
But one of the other things that they have done, as well as filming their show in their hometown of Huntington, West Virginia, is that they are constantly doing charity work specifically for West Virginia and for Huntington, because West Virginia is one of the biggest states hit by like the opioid crisis and all this stuff. So I would be happy to tell you this over the air. The sale of these two mugs went to a opioid charity in
Oh,
Huntington, West Virginia.
well, there you
So you
go.
so you got a birthday gift and we gave money to charity.
Hey,
Yay!
it's a win-win, right?
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
happy with
win-win.
that. I'm okay with that. That's awesome.
So
Um,
happy birthday.
yay! Thank you. Yeah, I was very happy. I saw it and I just started laughing. I'm like, this is fantastic. And I
Yeah,
didn't know that they were matching. Like, I must not have saw that in the text.
yeah,
So when you,
because they had the mug. They've got like tie-dye T-shirts that just say
that's
like
great.
podcaster on
Oh
them,
my
and
god,
they're all very generic. Like purposely, they look just like
generic.
generic
That's fantastic.
off-brand something. They're
Oh
knocking off
god.
a brand. We just don't know what brand it is.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much. It was I was gonna launch. This is a little story. It's like not negative, but it is slightly negative. But I did tell you that I had a story along with the mug of my own. It was just when I used to know someone who got really upset with people if they drank cold liquids out of a mug.
Oh, come on. All I
Like,
have is mugs. I don't have a lot of glasses in my house. I have like
yep.
30 mugs.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So like to the like screaming, and so I started. I'm not friends with this person anymore. Um,
probably for the story you're about to tell.
and it was just like it's really just that. Like I had water left over from from my day at work, so I just poured it in my mug. And as I'm pouring it into the mug, I was reminded of this person and like how upset they used to get over it. And
The sound of glass
it's just
tinkling off of ceramic just
like,
really messed with them. Of ice, I meant. I said glass.
ice,
I meant
yeah.
ice. Damn it.
And it's like
Water
I think
glass.
I understood what you meant. But it's like it was such a strange thing that I've ever seen someone get so like so upset. Like it was scary how upset this
It's
person got.
sounds like there was some sort of weird traumatic story in that past somewhere that was like I don't know what, but
Maybe
something
I don't
happened with a
know.
mug in cold water
I don't
somewhere.
maybe I just I was just reminded of it and I thought I would share that. It's not a great story, but you know.
But it's your birthday. You get
But
to tell it.
yeah.
Yay!
Yay. So yeah, so it's like I said, it's been a bit good birthday week, I guess. It started off a little rough because I saw a movie that we might discuss, we might not. I started off I I guess the week. I think it was Thursday. It was either Thursday or Friday. Devin and I went and saw Sorry to Bother You. And
You did, and then you texted me and were like, "Did you like this or not?" Because I don't know how to
yeah.
talk about it yet. Like I thought it was fine. I understand why people wouldn't like it, but it is a movie that, because of the way I watch movies, I think again, I'm gonna keep saying this sentence. It's my new catchphrase. I think I've talked about this before. I'm not the type of person that can shut my brain off to watch a movie, which means that a movie like Sorry to Bother You, which I think has a lot contextually going on,
Mm.
even if the movie itself is not particularly well made. I think I might like the fact that I could think a lot while I was watching it is
Well,
something that fascinated me.
so it was like that in the beginning, and then spoilers, he gets hit in the head with a cola can, and everything goes to shit. Like
Yeah.
literally, that movie had
I
a
gotta.
story and had a message up until he gets hit in the head with that Coke can,
I
and then
think
it's
the
like a
third
fever
act.
dream.
Yes, and
And
now that you say that, the second you said that, it occurred to me that there's a possibility that nothing that happens in that third act actually happens,
but
and now I
here's
have to go back and watch that movie.
but here's the thing, Zach. It does. It
I mean,
all
that's just it.
does
It does.
happen.
In the universe of the movie, it happens, but I think it's a
There
lot
are
like Taxi
actually
Driver.
horse people.
There are. See, so here's the thing. Did anybody tell you about that before you went into it?
No.
I knew that there was a third act twist going into it, and I knew that there was a thing that people refused to talk about when they went to go see it. Because I saw it maybe the second or third week it was out, because it was at one of the draft houses. It was at the draft house in El Paso out here.
Yeah.
So I got to go see it fairly early. But even then, like I follow the guy that wrote and directed this movie. His name is Boots Riley. He's a member of the Coup. It's a rap group.
Okay.
Who incidentally in 2012, their last album was named Sorry to Bother You, and now their new album is Sorry to Bother You, the motion picture soundtrack,
Oh
which
wow.
is very confusing because they did all the music for the movie, all the
Yeah.
original music for the movie and stuff. But I started following him on Twitter when I first heard about this movie, and I was like, oh, you know, this looks interesting. I'm going to follow this guy. And as soon as people started to see the movie, he started retweeting literally everybody who talks about the movie as
Oh
like a
wow.
master
Yeah.
marketer
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
But that also meant that for like the first 2 weeks before I got to see it, what I saw was a bunch of retweets for him of people being like, "Holy crap! I had no idea what was going to happen. I'm so glad this wasn't spoiled. What am I? Oh my god, that got crazy at the end. All of this stuff." So I knew something was coming. I did not expect horse
Horse
people,
people?
like you said. It
I just can't. Like it brought me so out of that movie, and I don't even know how to talk about it.
it is
It's
a
like
movie that takes place in Oakland and does theoretically take place, quote unquote, in the near future, as like
yes,
as a thing. Like it is a
totally.
it
It
is a world in which capitalism has started going to its extremes,
yes.
and like Amazon is like the big bad guy in this movie. It's not, they don't call it that, but it's Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so there was a somewhat dystopian sci-fi element to that movie, but
Totally.
yeah, once
And
the once the once the hybrid people start showing up, it is a very different feeling, and
it
that
was
there's
just
that.
it like had like the whole beginning of the movie is like quick synopsis. It's like the guy he is poor, like he doesn't have money. He gets a job as a telemarketer. All right. And for those of you who have not seen a trailer or anything, I can't remember his name.
Is I forget the name of the character, but his name is Lakeith Stanfield.
Lakeith
He is
Stanfield.
in
Okay.
for anybody out there who saw Get Out. I don't know if you still
I didn't
have or
see
not.
that. No, no, no,
He
no.
is he is he has a part in Get Out as
All
well.
right. All right.
He's yeah,
I mean, he
very
was
good
cool.
part.
I liked him, but like, so that he goes to he gets a job as a telemarketer. He's black, and as soon as he is like having the phone calls, people are hanging up on him. And whether it's because he has a quote unquote black voice, or whether it's because he's a telemarketer, it's still it's more leaning towards because he sounds black, because
Yeah,
he is black. Um, but then Danny Glover is there, right? Yeah,
yep, you were
I
confused
almost said
between Andy
Donald.
and Donald, weren't you?
I almost did. Danny
Danny
Glover is
Glover,
there,
yes.
and he gives him his advice of put on your white voice.
And I want to say that is a fantastic conversation that they have. That's one of the first things that hit me, because the conversation that he has with him about it is, don't just do a mocking
Yes.
white voice. Like don't do the thing
Mm-hmm.
where someone goes up on stage as a stand-up comic and like wants to make fun of white people, and so they just kind of get all uptight and sound.
Nasally.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, he says, what is one of he says to him, talk to them like you're not going to get pulled over by the cops on the way home or something like
Yeah.
that. Like all
Talk
of
to
these
them.
really
Yeah. It's
subtle
also like
kind of
talk.
round the bush references to the
Yeah.
fact that, like, sound like you're comfortable in America,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of what he's trying to say,
Yeah.
and which means you have to sound white because they're the people that are
Who are
comfortable in America.
Yeah, I
Right.
think it's what he exactly says. I mean, not exactly, but I remember it pretty well. He's like, talk like you don't need this job. Talk like all your bills are paid and you have no worries when you get home. Talk like you have a Ferrari sitting for you outside of this building and that you're only here because it's something to do. And then he like starts talking like David Cross.
Exactly.
And it does
yes.
not sound good.
Yeah, it's a little. It's. I mean, it's not supposed to, but it is also very.
Yeah, but
It's slightly off-putting. I don't know, because that was in the trailer. I think I was used to that idea going in, so I was
See,
like, okay, this is going to sound strange.
I didn't see that trailer. But it's also and Devin, we'll probably talk to about it at some point. It's not good sound mixing, and it's that's what it is. Because I thought at first it was supposed to be like that, which maybe, but at the same time,
it is a.
it's not good. It is not a good way to portray that.
And more
And
importantly is it's not really synced up to their lips when they're
lips. It's
talking. I think
awful.
that when the boss shows up later and it's Patton Oswalt, I
Mhm.
think that works a little better. But it is in part because there's only one time in that entire movie where you hear his real voice.
Yeah.
And so because there's nothing to compare it to for most of the movie, I think it works better.
But it's also
But
it's so distracting to watch because you're and it's almost like they know that it's out of sync too, and that's like we can't fix it now, it's too far gone, because like there are no close-ups of their mouth when they're talking in white voice.
or I mean,
And
and this
it's
is
like,
me
ugh, this is
as
not good,
someone,
guys.
admittedly, as someone who wants to champion this movie a little bit more, because I think I again, be, I have a very hard time separating my watching everything with my brain going all the time and my did I enjoy this thing brain. They tend to overlap, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes I love watching a movie and also I love thinking about a movie and hate it entirely. That didn't happen with this. I did enjoy watching this too, so I'm definitely coming from the other side of the fence on this
Oh,
one.
definitely. I could never
Um,
watch this again. I could never sit down and watch this movie again.
and yet I can't wait to because definitely
Mm-mm.
there's stuff I'm thinking about.
Oof,
Um,
no.
but there is a part of me that looks at that and goes, okay, so this is weird and it throws you off and it's not. And again, this is partially because I know a lot of at this point know a lot of the background stuff and know a lot about Boots Riley.
Mm.
Boots Riley is not is very much a anti-capitalist, street rapper. A lot of his music is about that. When you watch the way he tweets, he talks about that. He actually just recently got into a whole thing with Spike Lee because Black Klansman just came out,
Yeah.
and he wrote a whole thing criticizing the fact that that movie makes the cops look like glorifies the cops in an era when they were working with the KKK to blow up churches. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
like the fact that they make all of the cops in Black Klansmen such heroes, he's like he did not like that idea.
Wow.
So like he got into a whole thing about that. So that's kind of the place that this is coming from. And so he's also been like fighting for. I think they finally got an international release distribution for for
For
Sorry to
Sorry to
Bother
Bother
You.
You? Okay.
Yeah, because he had been fighting for a while because a lot of people in Europe did not want to didn't there's like a whole thing in Europe and I mean you get it in America too that black led movies don't make money in Europe. So
Yeah.
why would we bother putting it out? So
Yeah.
like so fighting for that kind of thing. So the idea that he would make a movie, an independent film, I'm going to imagine that this is a very low budget film, and so I think very purposely in that he had a vision that he wanted to make, and so the best way to make sure that vision made it onto screen was to not take money from other people, which also means that the sets are very simple. Like a lot of the shots are really simple. A lot of the exposition you get just from conversations after the fact, kind of thing, because then they can limit the number of sets they have to build, that kind of thing. So I also think that when you're talking about the sound mixing with those voices, I also think that the idea that it was not only out of sync but very uncomfortable to watch, kind of on purpose, because even when he does it at the bar later with like Tessa Thompson and Steven Yeun and all them, they're like, dude, stop doing that. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's meant to not become like not. I think that I think
But
that he took the idea of uncomfortable to watch and just matched it with, so we're just not going to sync it up, which I don't think is the best way to do that. But I
no,
think that's,
no,
yeah.
that is not good at all.
Like I get why you didn't like that. I'm not blind to that fact.
Whether or not it was purposeful or not is like it wasn't
it was
a
a
good.
mistake.
It was not a good. Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think I think
And
that's perfectly fair.
but
I think
what
it's a perfectly fair.
my biggest problem with it, that was more that like my biggest problem with it was the whole second half of the movie completely just like it feels
It's
like the message is just gone by that time, and it's like now this dude has to deal with his success and losing his friends and all that and blah blah blah, and like how like I just feel like the message got so muddled and like so got buried under this weird fever dream that actually happened. Like I
yeah. See,
don't
I wouldn't even say
understand
because I
how
wouldn't
that
even
actually
say,
happened.
yeah, and I wouldn't even say that the message gets muddled as much as it is that it's like that message, the whole, I mean, basically the message is everyone should unionize and capitalism sucks. That's the whole message. That's
Yeah.
the whole message of the movie. It's a very simple message and it's a very simple story. And so I think what happens is that in the third act, this decision was made to take all of the stuff that's happening in the background, where you see like the Amazon stand-in company has started to basically enslave people. But what they're doing is saying, you come
Basically,
live.
they do.
I mean, they do. They
They
enslave
do.
people.
They enslave
They enslave
people.
people. But what they do is they call it you're working and living at the company, which means you never have to
Have to
pay
pay.
for room and board, and we're going to give you food, and then you just come to work and go to your dorm, and it's great. You don't have to go anywhere. And this is literally how mines worked 100 years, not even 100 years ago, 50 years ago, even. Like, that's part of, again, to bring up West Virginia again, West Virginia coal mines, it was like a thing where you would live in the town that the mine owned, and you would go to work, and they would give you not American money, they would give you like company money to go at the company store in the company town, and everything was, that's all like historically stuff that has happened, and I could easily see Amazon willing to do that. Um, but all of the stuff that's happening in the background, where you're seeing it on TV and you're seeing stuff that's going on, and then it takes what's a very personal story in that world and decides, now we have to show you that world. Now we have to show you this personal story interacting with that world we created. And I think that's where it starts to get, and they start to basically hammer the message over your head. Like, do you get it yet? Do you get it yet? Do
Yeah.
you get it yet? It's like,
Yeah.
no, we got it like at the beginning of the movie. Like, that was how the movie was set up.
Yep.
You didn't have to. So
Continue
again, I don't
being
think it's that the
dead
message
horse.
gets. I mean, yeah, they're literally bringing horses into
Yeah.
it, so that
It was crazy.
yeah.
But to move on to a movie that I actually enjoyed and would love
Okay.
to talk about. Have you ever
All
seen?
right.
So yesterday, was it yesterday? Nope, 2 days ago, Sunday night. Have you ever seen Rebel Without a Cause?
No, but I've watched a lot of Futurama, and Fry is based on James Dean in that.
All right.
That's all I know.
Fair enough.
No, they're like, no, I've never seen Rebel Without a Cause.
So I had never seen
is
it.
Rebel Without a Cause? Which one? Is he wearing the red jacket in Rebel Without
Yes.
a Cause?
Yeah. No,
Okay,
it's
yes,
definitely.
it is Rebel.
It's not.
Okay.
It's I don't know if the character is based off of.
Well, I mean, the outfit is. His
Jim
look
Stark,
is based on.
But
Yeah.
it's his look. That's even in the IMDb trivia.
Yeah.
Is that Fry's outfit is based
That was at like
on
that was on
James
like
Dean.
Showcase Cinema trivia at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, but here's the thing. Rebel Without a Cause. So Devin and I have been going we go to these TCM movies every once in a while. And so usually when we see a movie, not usually, but lately when we see a movie that everybody loves and says is one of the greatest movies or blah blah blah, we come out of it saying, how? Why are people so connected to this movie, and why do they think it's as good as they think it is? So I was really nervous that going into Rebel Without a Cause, that's how we were going to come out. But no. Oh my God, is this movie fantastic. I say fantastic now because of what I read about today. But it was just so fun and such a good, like, it was very happy. I was very happy to watch that. And it like completely cleaned my mouth of Sorry to Bother You, and I never have to talk about Sorry to Bother You again. I can just talk about Rebel Without a Cause, and I don't want to spoil anything for you until you've seen it.
All right.
So that I'm gonna give you a little bit of homework of watching Rebel Without a Cause.
I bet you can
Because
find it somewhere and watch that
Oh,
before next
totally.
week.
Totally, I'm sure you can. I own a copy, but that will not get to you before. I mean, it might, but I do own a copy, which I bought because it was $5. So I bought the movie before I ever saw it. But yeah, it's one that I am not going to spoil and just say that I really enjoyed it. And wait for you to watch it, and then we can talk about it.
All right.
So, but
I'm going to
yeah.
assume No horse people.
There are no, thank God there are no horse people. Because if there were horse people in Rebel Without a Cause, I probably would have been done with movies. Like,
See,
honestly.
we've met the fundamental difference between Dale and I. You give me a horse person, I'm so interested. I will not stop watching the movie till I figure out what the hell's going on.
Oh God, it just made no
Oh, if
sense.
only horse
But
people showed up in Spider-Man.
no, don't even say that. Why would you say that?
Because it got this reaction.
Ugh, no, I would
Um,
cry. I would literally cry my eyes out and try to muster through. I'm like, well, he's obviously a villain, so he's obviously gonna get taken care of. All right, I'm okay with it. I just justified it. Speaking of
Ugh.
Spider-Man, I probably only have 4 missions left, so our Spider-Man episode should be coming soon.
Yeah, what was the
Just so you know,
Oh, I was about to say what was the last one you did, but that could spoil it for some people.
that could spoil it
But
for some people.
okay, we'll spoil
Yeah.
it. We'll spoil it another time.
Another time. But yeah, so I mean, I've been on my week for. Oh, I was gonna talk about Dave and Buster's. I did a
Okay.
VR. Okay, so Dave and Buster's has a VR Jurassic World game.
Oh my God.
It is so much fun. All you're doing is scanning dinosaurs, so there's really not like that much action, but it is so much fun. It
That's
was
exactly what I want out of a Jurassic Park game. Are you
yeah,
kidding me?
yeah,
I just
right.
want to walk around and look at stuff.
Exactly. And yeah, you're just scanning them. I won. There was 4 of us. I won. I scanned 31 dinosaurs. So there you go. Uh,
So basically, what you did was you played Pokemon Snap, the
uh
Jurassic
yeah.
World version.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what it sounds like.
Pretty much. And it was like we were on like a little roller coaster.
Nice.
It was 4D.
So it was a roller coaster that shook around a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. That was it. That was it. But it was so much fun. Oh my God, it was so cool. If there are Dave and Buster's around you and they have this, I recommend it. It's $5. It's worth it to do at least once.
Hmm.
It's fun.
It's the first time that I have fun with Jurassic World.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah,
Damn.
had to say it.
Damn. Hey, you know what? It had to be said. It's okay. I'm okay with that. But yeah, so how is your week been? Any updates on the Nuzlocke? What's been going on in Zach
Yeah,
World?
finally went back to the Nuzlocke a little bit. Got through the Safari Zone. That's going fine. I got yeah, you got in my head
Yes.
about the duplicate thing,
Oh.
and so because here's the problem with Fire Red and a lot of the first gen games.
Mm.
There's only 150 Pokemon. I
Exactly.
never thought I would say that, but there's only 150 Pokemon. And so there are entire routes in that game that are made up of of Pokemon I've already caught.
Well, yeah, because think about like within that 151, it are legendaries and things that aren't available in other like
And
are
like evolutions. Like you
are
you get into
evolutions. Yeah,
evolutions,
exactly.
yeah, and you're down to like 80 already,
Mhm.
and it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
And you're playing Fire Red, right? Or you're playing Red.
yes,
So
I'm playing Fire. Yep.
there are Pokemon in Fire Red that aren't in
Yep.
like there are Pokemon in Leaf Green or whatever. Yeah, Leaf Green,
Yep.
right? Leaf Green.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. There are Pokemon in Leaf Green that are not in Fire Red, so it cuts it
Yes.
down even more. So I get what you're saying.
Right. So what I would
So
do
it
in
kinda
my head, I
sucks.
was like, because like in my head, and I went back and checked to see if I had said this reasoning out loud in other ones, and maybe I did, and maybe I didn't. But where I was like, I'm just gonna go back in the first one I run into. At this point, like I'm down to like I'm losing Pokemon fast. I need more. So what I'm gonna do is just go back and catch the first one I find, regardless of whether it's a duplicate. And so I'd done
Alright.
that a couple of times, and there was always Pokemon that were already dead. So it's not like I ever had 2 of the same one at the same time. But I
Okay.
caught a third Rattata, and I felt bad about it. So now it's just sitting in a box, just awkwardly. And I'm just like, I'm just not gonna touch you, because
You-
I managed to catch a
sissy.
couple of them. Because I've got a couple of other. So I've got like 10 now, if you don't include that one. So I've got the 6 in my party and 4 extra. So I was like, you know what? Just sit in this box, and I'm gonna pull you out if I get really, really desperate again.
Sit in this
But
box
otherwise-
and think of what you've done.
Yes, think about what you've done being the third Rattata in this game.
That's crazy.
So,
I never even thought of that. I never even took that into consideration with the first gen. If
yeah,
you do a first gen Nuzlocke, because yeah, there
yeah, it's
really
rough.
is.
There is. I
There
have
are
come across
not
at
that
least
many
four.
Pokemon.
Nope, I have come across at least four routes where there are like I've got two
New
sitting
Pokemon.
blank on my list where there is not a single because there isn't a single new Pokemon in either of those routes. And I was
That's
like, well,
crazy.
not gonna bother.
Yeah.
So
And
that was why I went into the Safari Zone and I used the one that got me the most Pokemon and still only got two out of it.
yeah.
So
Oh jeez.
one of which was a Nidoran, which I could have caught before, which is really
Oh.
obnoxious. It's obnoxious to go in the Safari Zone and come out with a common Pokemon.
Damn.
Uh,
Yeah, no, and I just thought of this too. Like, you also only get one starter, so like that eliminates some Pokemon too. Like, you can't just go out and catch a Charmander or a Squirtle.
nope.
Like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, and nope, this isn't yellow. They don't give you that option.
nope,
Uh,
nope. Wow,
so,
never even occurred to me to think
yeah.
of that.
So, I'm
That's
officially at a point
crazy.
now. So, I'm officially at a point where I don't know what, like, I know where I'm supposed to go next, but I don't think I've ever gotten this far in a first gen Pokemon game before. I think when I played Blue, Silco was the farthest I got because I was like 12, and at some point,
You
I,
were like,
I
I'm
don't know.
done with this.
Yeah, I was either I was done with this or like something else distracted me and I was like I'll get back to this later and never did. So like
Oh
I'm
my
like, "Oh
god.
god, I don't know what comes next," which is weird for a 20-year-old game to not know what comes next, but there it is. Half exciting, half terrified.
I
Um,
get that. Especially considering you only have 10, maybe 11 Pokemon at
yeah.
this present moment.
Let's see,
That's a
what else have
little
I done
nervous.
this week? It's a very long week, like work-wise. It's
Yeah.
football season now and volleyball
Oh.
season, which means I'm going to two different sets of home games all the time. Like I worked until like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock last night for a
Oof.
freaking volleyball game. So like I haven't had time to do other stuff. Um, I'm getting ready. I'm ramping up. I'm working my way to my like Halloween rewatch for this year because the new one's coming out in a
Yes,
couple
it
weeks.
is. Yeah.
And even though I technically only have to watch the first one for that, God, continuity in horror movies is crazy. We talked about what are these? I'm going to do it now. Okay,
Here
so
we go. Let's do
there
it.
we go.
I'm ready.
One of the craziest things in horror fandom for me is continuity within movies because I think about the MCU a lot,
Yep.
and ever since we did the Infinity War episode, I've been thinking about the fact that there's like this whole big conversation about you can't just jump into Infinity War because there's all these other movies you have to watch, and some of them you
Exactly.
do and don't, but it is a 10 years, 20 movie continuity you are following. And with this new Halloween movie coming out, it is literally a sequel to the first Halloween and completely disregards
Everything
10
else.
other movies.
Yeah. Yep.
It is insane.
Yeah.
And like horror movies do that all the time. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre has four different continuities going in it right
Yeah,
now.
that's insane. That's crazy. But I
And I
feel like yeah, like I feel horror movies I feel like are easy to make. So I don't think people care about continuity, which
well,
sucks.
it is well, it's interesting. It sucks. It does and it doesn't because what it does is like not having to think about continuity opens up a lot of freedom for people.
Mm,
The closest analog that I think for general audiences is Spider-Man. In 15 years, we had three different Spider-Men.
this is very true.
And not to mention the fact that the game that just came out is a completely different continuity
Completely
from all
different.
three of those.
Yep.
And comics do this all the time, which is why it's really funny that the MCU is so like tied to it, is that there's just no continuity whatsoever. If you jump 4 years from one comic to another in a comic book, you're probably not even reading the same
Oh
character.
no. No. That's why
Um,
it's kind of difficult for me in comic books because I will find one and I'm like, this happened. This is a tangent. Sorry.
that's fine.
So it happened with me and Silk, which you know who Silk is. I've talked about Silk.
Yes, you have.
So it happened with Silk, and when I first learned who Silk was, and if for anybody who doesn't know, Silk is a character who she was also I don't remember if she was also on the field trip, but she was in the same area as Peter when he gets bitten by the spider. And supposedly, before the spider died, it was able to jump onto her and bite her as well.
I love that. That's not even trying. That's
Um,
just like, oh, we didn't even bother coming up with a new spider in this one.
yep. Yeah. So, and then she was
It's
locked away.
very Captain Ahab of that
Yeah.
spider.
Yeah.
It's like,
She was locked away by I can't remember his name. It's something with an M, and it's not the vampire. Oh God.
oh, more. Nope. I was about to say Morlock, but that's not right.
No,
That's a character. That's a thing. That's like a
it's
species from
not
Time
more.
Machine.
Well, because
Um,
I think it's Morbius, but it's not Morbius who locks her away. It's some other character who I never heard of.
it's the Monarch from Venture Brothers.
Yeah, I don't know. So she gets locked away, and I don't remember if she gets tortured or whatever, but she is locked away in a bunker for like years, like 15 years, and is told that these like Spider-Man is evil or something. I could be misremembering. Plus, there's a lot of ways that people tell these stories, so
Right.
I could
and
be
that's the problem is that they
combining
change
two
all
things.
the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I mean, it's also one of the things that I love about the Spider-Man universe and the Spider-Verse in general is because there are so many things that can be happening. So it's like you can pick and choose what you like and go with that. But the idea of Silk is so cool to me that and there's also a thing where since they were bitten by the same spider, they are connected, like super super spiritually and like emotionally, and like just like there is so much connection between the two to the point where they are so close to each other, and like something happens and they just start making out
Oh God.
because there's so much connection between them. It's scary. And they're like, we can't be doing this or whatever. So whatever. But anyways, long-winded explanation of this. I found a Silk comic, and then in the same thing there were like other numbers. So I was like just grabbing the numbers in order, and I came home and realized that I picked up two different installments of Silk stories. And I was like, this sucks because I'm stuck with these comics and I can't
Yeah.
read them because they do not follow the same story at all.
Whoops.
And it's like, and I've tried to go back and like try and figure out which one goes where, but it's like, you can't. If you don't start at the beginning, it's very difficult now.
and that's almost like, and I think that's why, especially with like horror movies where the audience is small but strong
Yes.
for most of these.
Oh,
Like there's a
definitely.
dedicated audience that has seen everyone. But then you're always like, the idea when a new one comes out is always seems to be, let's get a new audience in without having to like make them watch 5 other movies first. And what's really interesting when you get a situation like that is sometimes you get a situation like Friday the 13th where, again, the first 8 movies are the same story and come out within 10 years of each other. But there's like 2 or 3, 4 of them maybe even where they just tell you the whole story right up front. They give you like, they literally start off like a Last Time on Friday the 13th TV show
Wow.
where it's just like, let's to the point, actually, it's even really bad. The remake that came out in 2009, the last Friday the 13th movie that came out, is like 4 different movies smashed into one. And so, like, the opening of that movie, the first 5 minutes of that movie is just a really quick, like, voiceover exposition recap of Friday the 13th Part 1. Because they're just like, yeah, we want Jason in this movie, but if we're going to do that, we have to, spoiler alert for a 40-year-old movie, Jason is not the killer in the first Friday the 13th. It's his mother. And so,
What?
did you not know this?
I
Oh,
never
you've
knew
never
that.
seen,
I've
you've
never
never
seen
seen
them.
Scream.
No.
Yeah, and you've never seen Scream, oh God, the Drew Barrymore opening to Scream is the thing that made me ever go and watch a Friday the 13th movie. he asks her, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And when she says Friday the 13th, he says, "So who's the killer?" And when she says Jason, he's like, "Well, no, it's Pamela Voorhees, his mother." And then she gets killed for it. So there you go, everybody.
Oh,
That's the opening of Scream.
wow.
Um, uh, again,
I know
20-year-old
none
movie.
of
I'm
this.
spoiling. Oh my God, Scream was so great because for that's 4 movies over 20 years that have their own continuity, and they're just almost making fun of the fact that people don't know as much about the movies that they say that are their favorites.
Yeah.
So the opening to the 2009 remake is like someone saying, so the reason that Jason is a killer is because he almost drowned as a kid and everyone thought he was dead. And so his mother went crazy. And so she went back to the camp to kill all of the people that were trying to reopen it. And then she got beheaded and he saw that in the woods because, spoiler alert, he wasn't really dead. The
What the
the story of Jason is insane. It makes no sense because it's like in the first movie, he's dead. As far as anyone's concerned, he's dead, and that's why his mother went crazy and started killing people. And that makes sense. And then in the second movie, they're like, well, we want Jason to be the killer. So we're going to say that he didn't really die. They all just thought he was dead, and then he grew up feral in the woods, but also knew his mother well enough that when he saw her die, that also sort of drove him crazier to kill people. It's nuts. It makes no sense whatsoever.
It's a movie, you see.
It's a movie. And then in like the third one, it's like, okay, so just in case you didn't catch up, Jason's a killer because he saw his mother die because of this and that, and it's like they have to keep adding
They
to
have
it,
to keep
movie after movie, and
like
explaining what's
contributing
going
to it.
on.
What the? That's insane.
So that's what happens when a movie decides that when a movie franchise decides it has to try and keep these like all of these balls in the air, but also knows that there's new people coming in all the time. Then you get what I absolutely love, which is the Leprechaun franchise, which literally at the end of every movie, the Leprechaun dies and then just comes back for the next movie. And they just don't bother explaining it. And so it's like, are these different leprechauns all played by Warwick Davis, or is he magically coming back to life? We don't know. We don't care. He's just alive at the start of the next movie. And so, like, he's like thrown down a
Oh
well,
my
and then he comes
God.
back. And then he's blown up, and then he comes back. And then he's shot into freaking space
Yep.
where you watch him blow up, and then he comes back again.
So about the Leprechaun movies, there's a British game show called Big Fat Quiz.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, I love Big Fat Quiz.
yay!
I
I'm
watch
so
at least I watch
happy.
the yearly one every year. I watch the
Oh,
New
Zach,
Year's one every year.
this is
Oh
a
yeah.
new tier of our friendship. Let me tell you, because I have gotten to the point where I haven't seen every episode, but it's gotten to the point where like I rewatch episodes and am quoting them, and it's a fucking game show. It is a quiz show, and I am quoting it. That's this. That's how crazy this is, and how crazy I am. But there's that point where there's an episode where Jonathan Ross is teamed up with Warwick Davis,
Oh God.
and they bring up the Leprechaun movies. And when I first saw the episode, we hadn't been friends yet, so I had no idea about you and your Leprechaun movies. You and your Leprechaun movies.
Me and my leprechauns.
So then I'm rewatching that episode, and I was like, "Oh my God, Zach loves these fucking movies." And it's like now I feel like I need to watch them. But oh my God.
I mean,
So-
and the best part about them is you can watch whatever one you want.
Yeah.
Because the only one that he doesn't, I want to say maybe he doesn't die at the end of either of them, but there's the Leprechaun in the Hood movies.
Yes.
Terrible. Those are the only two I don't think where he doesn't die.
Is
Still
there-
don't know if it's the same Leprechaun from one to the other, but it's the only one that ends with him not. Instead, I think Leprechaun in the Hood ends with him rapping. Much better, I assume.
Yeah.
But
Is
and then there's Leprechaun Origins, which is just nothing. We don't talk about that. But
how many Leprechaun movies are there?
there are 6 with Warwick Davis.
Okay.
And then there's the Origins one, which was produced by the WWE and stars
Wait, what?
Hornswoggle as the Leprechaun.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. So somewhere after Leprechaun Back to the Hood,
Yep.
which is the last one that Warwick Davis was in, the Leprechaun franchise went up for sale somewhere, and WWE bought it. And so they took Hornswoggle, who is their Leprechaun, and decided to make him the bad guy. The problem is that like I don't know why, but they decided that they needed to make like a monster, like quote unquote, like real monster movie out of it, as opposed to just being like a goofy leprechaun caricature. And so he's basically just like an imp that runs around and like eats through people.
Oh
Like
my
it's
god.
nothing, like it's nowhere near as funny.
Um,
Um,
I'm so happy that you brought up the space Leprechaun in space,
Leprechaun in
Leprechaun
Space is
in
so
Leprechaun in
it.
the Hood, and
Sorry.
Leprechaun go back to the
Oh
hood.
my God, Leprechaun. What I love is that it's not Leprechaun in Space. It's Leprechaun 4 in space. So like they're not
Oh,
even like
oh,
it's not even like ooh Leprechaun in Space this time. It's Leprechaun 4 subtitle
in
in
space.
space.
So here's the thing. There's that episode where they're talking about it on the Big Fat Quiz, and John Ross says Leprechaun in space or whatever, and then he mentions Leprechaun in the hood, and then Leprechaun back in the hood, and I was like, those aren't real. I don't
Sorry, no, no,
believe
no.
you.
It's Back to the Hood.
Oh,
Thank
it's
you. They had
back
to
to
put the
the hood.
two in there because even
Oh,
though it's the sixth movie, they had to put
it's
a
the
two in there to
sequel
let you know
to
it's the
the in the
sequel
hood.
to the fifth movie. Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
So, but I am so
Which I think is also
happy.
the only one that explains what the Leprechaun legend is. I think it's Back to the Hood that finally like opens with an explanation of the actual Leprechaun legend.
Oh
After
my
20 years
god.
and 6 movies, that is the only one that explains what a leprechaun is. Uh,
That's fantastic. Yeah, no, but I was like, I don't know if he is making jokes or if these are real. So
oh,
I'm
they're
very
real.
happy that that you were seamlessly able to just integrate all three of those into the conversation, thus
Oh,
proving to me that they exist.
In the Hood has iced tea. It's great.
Are you kidding
Oh
me?
God. It opens in the 70s.
Oh
So
my
somehow this is
god.
why I don't think they're ever the same leprechaun.
Oh
Because
my
this opens
god.
in the 70s and Ice-T finds a magic amulet that like freezes the leprechaun into like a stone statue. Don't know why he does it,
Leprechaun
don't
are
know why it's
magical.
important, but
So,
he does it. But he does it, and he's got a really bad fake afro wig on the whole time. And sticks him in a
oh,
glass case and then
oh
becomes a rap
my
mogul. It's
god. He's
oh,
actually Ice-T?
I mean, he basically turns into Ice-T, and yeah,
He
and then it's like all of a sudden it's the late '90s, early 2000s, and he's basically Ice-T. Uh, oh, it's so they're
That's
so bad. They're
oh my
so bad.
god.
Leprechaun 4. Oh, okay, Leprechaun
Oh
4.
my
This is
god.
why I can't tell if they're different leprechauns or the same one. Because somehow in space managed to confuse it enough that I don't know anymore. Because Leprechaun 4, first off, is the worst budgeted of all 6 of these movies. It's the worst budgeted in that. Oh, 7 actually, because that includes Origins. It's got a worse budget than that. This thing looks like, I mean, early 2000s made for TV sci-fi movie,
Oh my
almost
god.
worse than that. Like a low budget version of a sci-fi original movie. That's what this looks like.
Oh my god.
And opens with a team of space marines on a boat on a space boat on a space boat
On a
on a
space boat?
spaceship, yeah, on a spaceship, and they come across an asteroid comet in which the leprechaun is trying to like seduce some sort of alien princess to be his bride. That's how
What?
this opens. No
What?
explanation how he got on this asteroid, no explanation about who this woman is, nothing. And then these guys just like for whatever reason decide they're going to get on this asteroid and find him, and they actually kill him. This movie opens with the leprechaun dying.
Oh.
And I think the space woman dying. I don't think she's part of the rest of the movie. I'd have to rewatch it again. But he dies, and one of the space marines decides, I'm going to pee on his corpse. No good
Oh
reason,
my
just gonna do it.
god.
Just like, oh, and they're calling him an alien the whole time. That's the other part to this. No one ever calls him a leprechaun in this movie. They just think he's some weird, freaky alien. So they're just like, hey, cool, killed a weird, freaky alien, gonna pee on its corpse. And so he does that, and the leprechaun soul magically travels up his urine stream into his penis. And so, setting up a scene later where he comes bursting out of the guy
Oh my god.
alive again. And so now I don't know if something like that just happens all the time and it's all the same leprechaun, or if these are supposed
He's
to be
just
different
reborn.
leprechauns. Yeah, I don't know if these are different leprechauns now, or if he's somehow just bursting out of people in all of these movies and we're just not seeing it.
That
So
is
it's the
fantastic.
weirdest continuity change to make in this. Is like, oh, by the way, in space he travels up a guy's urine stream. Why? Like, what are you talking? Like, was that his plan? Did he know that was gonna happen?
Was that his plan? Yes, probably. No, does he burst out of the guy's like actual like torso, or does he
I mean
burst out of the
the budget
dude's
is.
junk?
I mean, the budget is not there to show him literally. Like, the guy just dies and he goes bursting out. So,
Oh, okay.
presumably out of the guy's junk. But,
Oh my
oh,
god.
man. Oh,
Now
it's so crazy.
I just need to see that scene.
You
I
can
just
probably find it. You can probably just find that.
That's so
Uh,
funny.
that is also a movie in which a woman, oh, I think I wrote this. Where's my phone? I definitely, like,
Where's
wrote
my
this
phone?
so bad. Oh, God. I remember taking notes for this movie because I was
Oh,
like, I
that's
cannot
fantastic.
believe this movie. Um,
Let's we'll banter as Zach looks through his phone for his notes on Leprechaun.
oh no, I think I deleted them.
Oh no, that's so funny.
Because
That's
there's a
great.
like at some point a woman says like, I'm not a. I think it was supposed to be like a knockoff of the I'm a doctor, not a whatever from Bones
Yeah.
from Star Trek. But what she says is, I'm a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm a biologist or something. So
Oh
it's like, so a
God.
doctor. Like, I mean, you're a
So you're
doctor.
still a doctor.
Yeah.
Like you get that, right?
Yeah.
Like
You
you.
get like you can get a doctorate in that.
Oh my God.
Uh,
That's fantastic.
it's crazy.
That's so
That's
good.
why I love the Leprechaun movies because they don't care. None of those movies connect from one to the other. There's no character that goes from one to the next.
They just exist.
They just exist. And then you get something like the Child's Play and Chucky movies, where the same guy has written every single one of those.
Oh
The
really?
same guy, and the same guy is trying to develop a TV series now to continue from the last movie he wrote, at the same time that someone is trying to make a new Child's Play movie. It's very
Oh
confusing.
gosh.
But
That's great. But
Don Mancini is that guy's name, and he wrote Child's Play 1, 2, and 3, and then he wrote Bride of Chucky, and I think he wrote and directed Seed of Chucky. And then he
okay.
wrote Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky, which are the two new ones. So at some point, he lost the rights for Child's Play as the name, but he retained the rights to Chucky, the character itself, which is why with a Bride of Chucky, all of a sudden you start losing the Child's Play
Yeah.
label, and also why Universal can now go and remake Child's Play however they want, but can't have Chucky in it. So God knows what they're going to do with that when
That's
they remake that
crazy.
movie.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are also movies I've never seen and probably never
Um,
will.
well, I mean, Child's Play 1, good horror movie. Child's Play 2, okay. 3, boring as hell. And that is the one in which a guy is blown up by a grenade, and still the most
Oh,
boring of those movies.
you know what?
Because,
Wait, no, go. What?
you know what? What?
No, no. I was gonna let you finish.
um, it was just like that one is like by the time you get to the third movie, it's the same kid in all three movies, and it's
Yeah.
supposed to be that he's like for whatever reason stalking this one child because he's like convinced he's gonna use his body to the whole background story to Chucky is that some serial killer put his soul in a doll. That's the background
Oh.
story to Chucky. And so he's consistently trying to find a human body to put his soul into.
Huh.
And for some reason, he's fixated on this one kid for 3 movies. And by the third one, the kid is like troubled teenager put into a military academy. So it's Chucky versus like kid soldiers, which is really weird.
What? That's
And
crazy.
somehow that is the boring one.
Huh. Yeah, no. You know a horror movie that you should watch is The Brood. I could talk
I mean,
about The Brood all day long.
okay. I definitely know The Brood and yet cannot place it. What is The Brood about?
So The Brood is about a lady and she's in like a psychiatric care or whatever, and she has a child with a guy and they're like separated, and there are these other children that come and are basically trying to take the daughter back to with them to the mother or whatever, and you basically then she has like this sack outside of her where the babies just keep coming from,
Oh God, sounds
and
wonderful.
they're all the except for like the main daughter, all of these creepy like little children are connected, So, and she controls them with her brain pretty much. Like, she controls them and tells them what to do.
Nice.
It's like, we watched it in my monster movies class, and I think I was the only person who loved it. And that is a big thing. That is a big thing for me to be like, this movie right here, amazing. And like, it has one of the grossest scenes in it. And to the point where like I think someone puked or had to leave the class to puke. Like, it has one of the grossest scenes in it. And yeah, I could watch it. I've never watched it again, but it's so ridiculous. It's bad, but it is so ridiculous.
I mean, it sounds right up
Oh
my
my
alley.
god. You
I
need to
mean,
watch it.
here's the thing. You say bad. First off, were you listening when I described
Yeah,
Leprechaun?
no, yeah.
Yes.
So
One.
so you would
Two,
love it.
two, Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky involved Jennifer Tilly and Redman at one point, and and one of the hobbits voicing their child.
Oh my god.
So
Oh my god. Yeah, no. That's so ridiculous. Yeah, you should try and find. Okay,
I
you
bet you
gotta
could
find
find
the
the
Brood, and you gotta find Rebel Without a Cause.
what a weird back to back.
It'll be a good double feature. It actually, scary enough, would be.
I don't know which one I would watch first. Is the thing.
The Brood, and then
and then
Rebel Without a Cause
as a palate
as a
cleanser
palate
to my-
cleanser. It definitely would go. It would be. It's a full circle kind of story. I think that way.
Oh dear
In
God.
a weird way.
Ugh.
And in a way that's probably not true. Like, I don't think I would be able to actually verbalize why it's a good circle. Just, that's the next double feature.
All right.
Add Robo Shark in there. Whew, you're set. Robo Shark's got to be in the middle, though.
Robo Shark.
Oh, God. Well, yeah.
That's all I got for this week, I think.
It's really it. Yeah, because everything else I want to talk about is gonna have to wait until I finish Spider-Man,
Yes.
and then we will have an episode about. It's gonna be next week.
Okay.
I can promise right now that I will finish Spider-Man at some point this week, and next week we
I
will.
look forward to the text messages when you finish that story.
My
my God.
I just need to say right here before we even talk about it, this is the most I have cried at a video game. Actually, no, probably. Yeah, this is the most, and I am comparing this to Rhyme, which you asked me about, which I need to know if you
Yes.
have started Rhyme.
I did start. I got through the first set of statues that you have to like yell at in that game.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm through the first set of like blue statues and started like there was a tower with a giant orb I had to move. That was the
Yes.
last thing I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Wait. So did you do
I haven't
the
done.
bird?
There's no because there's
Okay.
there's the Sphinx with the two keyholes. I did the one
Yes.
keyhole. I haven't done the other one yet.
Okay.
So-
All right. So you haven't gotten to the bird yet. All right.
No.
All right. Yeah. No.
No one is gonna understand what that means. Did you see-
Don't I talk about Rhyme in one episode? I thought I talked about Rhyme at one point.
Talked about Rhyme. You talked about how much you loved Rhyme in one of
Oh,
the E3
but
episodes, but we never actually went into what that game is.
Yeah, because I
So
didn't want to
we'll-
spoil it. Because I didn't want
Exactly.
to spoil it because that is a game that you just need to play. Everybody needs. I cannot wait for our Spider-Man Rhyme discussion.
It's gonna be just we're back to video games next week because we're gonna actually have stuff finished that we can talk about.
Also, Spider-Man is probably going to be my second platinum trophy ever.
Oh yeah.
Yep. The first
Oh,
one
man.
is Sly Cooper.
Oh nice. I hit a point where I hit a point because of the way I unlock things in open world games where the only way for me to get more stuff to unlock the rest of I think it's the suits were the last thing I needed to get
Yeah,
it platinum
yeah.
and I can't beat the challenges with enough points to get the things to unlock the suits.
Oh yeah, that's
So
ridiculous.
at some point after like 3 or 4 days of trying it I was like, you know what? I'm good. I got a good I got the suit I got the two suits I absolutely loved, so I don't need to
Good.
I don't need to worry about the rest of them really.
All right.
Uh,
Well, look forward to that discussion, everybody. But yeah, I'm good.
All right, then this has been. All right, sure.
All
Then
right.
this has been Say Report Junior, the podcast you should be listening to, subscribe to, and downloading every week. That makes more sense. I
Yes.
found a way to make it make sense.
There you
Okay.
go.
Um,
You
I
should
have.
you should already be subscribed to it.
I mean, if you're listening to this, I assume you're
I would
subscribed.
hope
But
you are, yeah.
in the off chance that you're listening to this on our YouTube channel that you can find at Say Report Junior and haven't decided yet, I say subscribe. I think it'd be good. You can also find us on Twitter at Say Report Junior, and then you can find us individually. I am at Zerwisky,
And I am at Dale's Brain.
and I think this means we all get ice cream.
Woohoo! Take it away, Liz. I almost said Jess.
That's not even like Will. Like
No,
where
no,
did
I know.
Jess come
I don't
from?
know. I don't. I'm sorry, Liz. I'm sorry. Just take it away.
Oh, we're still recording.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Say Report with your hosts Dale Decker and Zach Sarowick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.